Welcome. This is Map Marketing and I am your host, Rachel Klaver. I love helping small business owners become more confident and more capable with their marketing. So this podcast is all here to help you do just that. It's me and the help of some great guests helping you learn new skills, new strategies and ideas. Let's jump in and get started. Working out how to use marketing as a salesperson can incredibly revolutionize the way that you grow your business. With so many of us business owners being in charge of both the marketing and sales, learning how these two things fit together is so important. That's why I'm really excited to have Chris James on our podcast today for Map It Marketing. Chris has got a great Instagram following. He's been building up a following around helping coaches and creatives win more clients, and he shares a lot of sales secrets and ideas and strategies to help people grow their business, particularly in that niche. He's going to talk to us about the relationship between marketing and sales, how to make sure that you're building that trust process, all those things that I always am so passionate about. I'm really looking forward to him sharing with us his insight and talking to us a little bit about what are the things that we need to be looking out for when we're using our marketing to help us in our sales process. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Map It Marketing. As you heard, we've got Chris James on our podcast today. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me. Excited to get into this.
I am too. And thank you to everyone here who's tuning in and listening to this podcast. If it's your first time, please be sure to subscribe and so you can listen to more episodes. I've also put a bunch of other episodes that are related to this in terms of topics in the show notes. So if you enjoyed this one, those are the ones I'm going to say I think will fit you best. And all ears and need to be on because we're going to start with getting Chris to tell us all about him and why I've got him on the podcast. I hope he knows. I hope you know, Chris. You know, right?
I know.
We were talking about pineapple, weren't we? That was just for our little friend Harrison. So he's going to tell us a little bit about his background, and then we're going to start talking about the kind of that relationship between sales and marketing. Both of us have quite strong feelings around this and how we use marketing for sales or vice versa. And so I'm really looking forward to this because I feel like even though Chris and I are on opposite sides of the world, we both have a very similar view, which is great. So Chris, over to you. Tell us a little bit about you and why you do what you do.
Cool. I do what I do, which is sales, because I fell into it like a lot of people in sales did, I think. It was not intentional. I needed to leave. I didn't need to leave. Geez. I wanted to leave my mum and dad's house. And to do that, obviously one needs to fund oneself, right? So yes. I was asking friends for jobs, who can get me in somewhere. And one girl said, I know a place, dead low wage, come in. And yeah, it was similar to Boiler Room in many respects. It was absolutely just an awful place to work. I was selling advertising space and there was no internet back then.
Yep. I have done that same job.
Yeah, gives you a bit of a backbone, some may say. So I had on the first day.
In your face.
Yeah, basically. But it was cold calling, this one. So we got the phone book ripped in half, me and another new recruit, slammed on the desk. No, it didn't even have a wireless phone. No internet. I think one on each bank of desks, you had one person with a computer who you could double check something with if they would let you, because they tended to be the most powerful person on that bank, right? So that went horrendously. I think I closed like 2 deals in 6 months or something, and they were about $300 each or 200 quid each or something. Felt good when I did it. People were signing and sending back by fax. This is making me sound old.
No, you look a lot younger actually now. Like I'm like going, I don't even know, but I'm relating to all of this because this was me as well when I was doing these things. As I was using fax, sometimes I'd turn up to someone and I was selling things around signage, like getting nice signage, and then I would talk about things, and the person would be like, I'm not even in the. I've got an ad in the yellow pages. That was the only thing they had. Like it was hard out. Yeah. I agree with you. This is hard. People don't remember that we used to have to do selling 1-to-1. You had to do it 1-to-1. That was the only way to do it, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, when I left, they were just putting together sort of digital packages about, this thing called the internet. Obviously, everyone knew what the internet was, but yeah. So that went, that serviced me for a bit and made me see the real graft that does go into taking someone from never ever even heard of you, speaking to you, whatever it may be, all the way to a client, although it didn't happen that much. And that was a ruthless environment. If you weren't wearing the right thing, that one lad got his tie just cut because he did rubbish and he was wearing the wrong tie. Didn't happen to me. And then I moved around a bit, did a few different things, then landed my job in a call center, which is sort of where my life changed. Actually, I met my wife and my best friend there. They're not the same person, by the way, but she is still a good friend.
Yes.
Kind of my wife.
You're friends with your wife. I'm friends with my husband. We're good.
Friend for life. So that was 220 phone calls every single day. They called it your gap time, had to be under a certain amount. Your toilet breaks and your break time were actually timed. And that really, really, after working there for 3 years, paints this picture that there's nowhere else to go. And that's what a job is like, right? And that was crazy to think that I actually operated and worked for this employer who was so controlling and treated you like children, essentially. But I'm still, so aside from my best friend and my wife and meeting them there, I'm really, really looking back, really glad I did it, because it gave me a backbone and I'm no longer afraid of rejection, and it gives you the discipline to carry on, a proof that it is a numbers game, even if your data's rubbish and you actually aren't that good. But that forced me into having to just do, basically just do. Lo and behold, that's when I started getting really, really good at sales, and once you gain that confidence and not being afraid to speak to someone, you start to gain a bit of product knowledge. And I elevated myself to almost the top of the lower end of the company. I was still a worker bee, if you like, but I was at the top. Then I got an opportunity to sort of move into a recruitment sales role. So tag me with that kind of thing. And then my friend moved on at the same time, and he went to marketing. He went to a marketing agency. He then went to another one. I pestered him for a couple of years. Can you get me a job? Finally, he got me a job with no marketing experience whatsoever. I was set up to fail. Lo and behold, all the other salespeople who have been in that role, I've been there 5 years now, I've outperformed every single one of them. They've all either left or had to leave, been asked to leave. And now I head up sales for an 80-person integrated marketing agency in central Manchester, and we're the fastest growing agency in the northwest of England. And some of the brands that we're working with now are absolutely phenomenal. The likes of Subway, Heineken, FedEx,
they're
massive
brands.
UK brands. And we're not working with them necessarily all the time, but breaking down those doors, using a completely different approach to these other guys who think they can sell digital marketing services, but haven't got that cold call background, resilience, backbone, whatever you want to call it. And look, it worked. It still is working. I've just got us on the supplier list for Jack Daniels, for example, which was a two-year job. Crazy, but it's happened. And then during COVID, I spotted some of Dane Walker's carousels. Big fan of his design. I was like, I could do that.
And that's on Instagram, right?
On Instagram, sorry. Yeah. I'm at the moment, I'm only really using Instagram, although my main background, given the B2B experience I have, is LinkedIn. So saw Dane Walker's stuff. I could do that. Turns out I couldn't. I knew how things should look. So I literally copied a few of his behind closed doors and engineered using the same images, trying to find the same fonts, and learnt behind the scenes, which I think is something a lot of people don't do. They learn out in public, which is good, but if you can just hone it a little bit behind closed doors and keep your craft silent for a bit. Anyway, I kept this quiet, and I posted with about 30 days worth of content ready behind me.
That's interesting. Is that because you've been practicing behind doors, so you actually created and kind of walked through what you wanted and then did it? Because I struggle with this, because I think I've got ADHD, and as soon as I learn something, I want to apply it right away and I want to make it live. So I really love that you didn't do that, but I would struggle with it. Like I did a reel yesterday. I knew the best time to post it is at 6 a.m. this morning. I finished doing it at 4, and I'm like, damn, I'm posting it now. I can't wait till 4. I can't wait till 6 tomorrow. Like I have issues with this. I shoot myself in the foot all the time. So what you're saying is great, because I work with people who are like you. And what I like about it is that you said, create this bank. That's essentially what you did, right? When you were practicing. And so you knew when you launched, you would have 30 days of content because of that.
Yeah, and I don't really know why I did it. I knew that I wanted to make my life a bit easier. And at this stage, didn't even have a clue that I might be able to sell anything for money using Instagram. It was a creative outlet because I'm quite a creative person. I've been creating content of different kinds, for years, but without really even calling it content creation. So, put these things out. Couple of incoming inquiries. Can you teach me how to do that? And at this time I was just Chris.James or something like that, and this was only May last year, so really, really short space of time, and people were getting in touch. I was selling my services for $80 an hour or something like that, which I spoke to another coach, and he was like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You need to go in a completely different direction. So I literally just tripled my price, made my least bookable number of sessions 10, and then closed someone the next day. And at this stage, I still had 100% closing rate on every discovery call, which I was just like, okay, there's definitely something in this now. So then I started becoming like applying the content strategy knowledge that I have from my day job. This stuff that we try and teach to clients. I was like, right, I'm going to apply sort of an organic funnel theory. I'm going to tag it all up. It took me a while to get it out my brain, but now that's the same framework that I teach to clients, and it's working.
So is that
It's
walking
working
through that
crazy.
customer journey phase of like going and getting that kind of interest? Are you using that kind? I don't call it AIDA or AIDA. I've got a different model, but is it essentially using that kind of format for you, like getting them to work through that trust building so that when they're ready, they're just basically falling in? Is that what you're trying to do with that?
Mine's, yeah, in a way, it's definitely journey based.
Yeah.
I don't try and categorize too much, but I say that every action you take on social, if you're a business owner, has, and you'll notice a pattern, one of three objectives behind it, conscious or subconscious. So I've tagged it up as my own, and I've called it GROW, GRO. So the G is you are trying to gain followers, you're trying to gain attention. That's all basically your awareness stage. The R is for retain. So you're trying to retain that audience and keep them nurtured by constant content. And there are different types of content you will put out, wider content to try and attract people, whereas more specific content to retain them. And then the O is for obtain, and that's obtain clients. So gain, retain, obtain.
Very nice rhyming one there, very much.
Yeah. So I'm not necessarily it's engineered on purpose to be like that, but yeah, you see this. I try and paint it as almost as an upside down pyramid, like you would see a typical funnel. It's all organic, and you'll start to see the big difference just even in headlines. If you're looking at 7 things not to do on a sales call, that will probably be the sort of middle of the funnel stuff.
Yeah,
That'll be
it is. Yeah.
then I will get a lot more specific, steal my exact sales call framework that led to me working with X clients for X amount of money,
and that's kind of obtain space going in deeper.
Yeah, that's bringing people down, and the CTAs will be different on each one. And it will be leading people, as we say, that's like the first stage of the journey. So you've got content or profile, people will see one or the other. Then we're going to try and take them on Instagram to almost the holy trinity of the DMs, stories, or to your link in bio. So once we've got, and they all sort of work in conjunction with each other, kind of, use stories to bring people to your DMs, then send them your bio link, or they can just hit your profile, go straight to your bio link, or you might throw the highlights in there as well. But yeah, a few different options. Then it's messages in the DMs trying to qualify people. This is what I teach to coaches typically who require a call, and then it's sales call sales call loss. Go straight back into the holy trinity, keep nurturing, keep putting the story content out there, keep the messages going, or it's win. And then we onboard, and then it's cross sell, upsell, downsell, whatever it is.
So I really love this because I've just finished writing my book, and it's coming out in about 4 months or so. It's called Be a Spider.
Oh, wow.
And so that upside down funnel, what I talk about how the bottom of that funnel, the upside down pyramid, is I call that the hub, and it's where the spider sits, and it's the stickiest part of the web. And that's where, if they come into the hub, they're yours. That's that conversion space of the stories, the link in bio, because it's basically bringing them to a decision point. And so I really like this, because that when you set up, say, a pyramid, I do the same with a funnel. I always say I don't like the concept of a funnel when it comes to marketing, because like you've said, you know, you're on Instagram, now you're moving on to LinkedIn. There'll be some crossover where some people may come closer to you on one of those platforms that they wouldn't have come on the other one. And so those are kind of your little radius lines, and then all the content is just drawing them under, so that it gets stickier or more serious the closer they come into that hub. So I really like that you use that analogy, because it fits in really nicely.
Yeah.
I'll totally send you a book to read. I won't make you read the whole one. I'll do a post-it note, and just like, if you just read this page, Chris, it'll be in.
Just a few sticking out. Yeah, I've actually just gone to an app called Blinkist. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Blinkist is
great.
That's
a lifesaver. I actually paid for a year's subscription by mistake. Blinkist, if anyone's watching this, I actually just wanted a free 7-day trial, and 20 seconds in, I paid £60. So yeah, but now I'm forced to use it. I'm actually quite enjoying it. So fair play.
Yeah, I am. I have to say that I am a reader, but I think I struggle with reading and settling my mind and reading non-fiction books now. So I now will listen to it on Audible. I do my exercise and listen to Audible at the same time. It's a bit hard when you're getting really inspired, because I want to stop and take notes, but I've learned not to do that. Tend to trip off the treadmill. And then what I do is I buy the physical copy of the book, so I can kind of prove I've got it, but also it means I've got something to refer to if I need to. So I do think it's hard. I think reading patterns have changed, which is a completely different topic. But I love your grow thing. I also really love it. And this is funny, but because I actually, you told me who you work with, and I was like, you work with the 3 C's, you know, so it's coaches, consultants, and creatives. So like, you know, you work for 3 C's. But I really like this, because your grow model is also going to automatically filter out all the grammar Nazis who are going to go, you can't call it the grow model because it doesn't have a W.
I can call it what I want.
You can call it what you want.
That's I know that comes across as arrogant, but I realized this when someone came into my DMs, and I could tell they were a time waster.
Yes.
So they said, "Can you help me with something?" Like, yes, of course. Can you teach me how to close clients? I was like, yeah, sure, of course I can. It's my program costs $5,000, and this guy, I just straight away told him that, because I knew it was time wasting, and I wasn't in a free time state at this point. So I just thought there were a couple of other interactions that happened first, but I got the vibe. So I told him this, and he said, "What are you doing? You're not allowed to do that. Sales, you have to build rapport first. Where is your relationship building? I thought you were a sales guy." I sent him an audio and said, "Look, mate, I'm really sorry if I've offended you, but can I just say, I'm allowed to do what I like with my words and my offer and my business. So anyone can say anything about anything. It doesn't mean it's true. How much does my service cost? $1 million. Can't afford it? Doesn't matter. It's not, you know, and it does sound arrogant, but it's very true. And I have a few clients, and people come to me and just say, "Oh, I'm not sure I should do this. I'm not sure it's right for this reason, or for these types of people, or someone said I shouldn't." I was like, it's up everything. It's up to you. You price your service. If people don't buy it, that's fine.
So I really like this, because I also use this technique quite a bit when I think someone is coming for free advice. So we actually have, if someone comes that I feel, if in there, because they have to give us a bit of information when they make a tone with us or when they first engage with us. And often, like, I'll look at that and go, I don't think they're going to fit our pricing structure. And I'll email them and look, I'll say, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. This is basically how much it's going to cost. And here's 2 other options for you. And one of them is our free Facebook group, and the other is our online course, which is only $300, which is essentially working with me, but hands off. And so I do that. And it's really interesting. Around 40% of the people that I did think that with, the first thing I see them do within 5 minutes is go and join that free Facebook group. And I don't hear from them again. And so I used to do all these one-to-one meetings. And this is part of that whole marketing sales thing. I'm not interested actually in having a meeting with anyone unless it is a specific sales call. And that sounds very selfish, but my whole thing is market to the big group, serve them in your information, feed them and nurture and love them in your stories, in your DMs, and then if you've got lead generation. But when it comes to sales meetings, hey, if you're using my time to sell to me, for me to sell to you, you better be ready for me to sell to you. which is kind of a weird thing. And I don't know, that might sound even hard to you, but I don't want to waste my time with a one-on-one unless I know
it doesn't. I completely get it, because I've just looked at my time and it's really, really stripped. It's very thin.
That's mine.
And I have a job, I have children, I have content to make, I have clients to serve, I have a wife, I need to go and look after my father 3 times a week. So the time that I have for these sales calls is extremely valuable to me, and I need to be able to convert them into cash, essentially. And it's not for a selfish gain. I don't do this just for money, but when I do spend my time on a sales call, it is a sales call.
Yes.
So I will actively try and dissuade, if that's a word, or not persuade people to take calls.
Yes.
And the minute I get a sniff that on the call that they're not right, I will actively try to wrap up the call and push them in the best direction possible for them. Still try and give them a bit of value, but this isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to serve you well being on the call. But I think you don't appreciate that until your time is limited.
I think
once your time is limited, big change.
Because one of the reasons I'm really passionate about this too with coaches and clients is a lot of, and because I noticed you have a link to book I found a link, and I don't know if it's still active, but it was a book a 30-minute discovery call with you link. And one of my things that I say to people who are doing in the coaches and consultant space is, look, I'll say, do you have any lead generation? Do you have anything free that people can get so you can get them on your email list or things like that? What are you doing with your marketing to build that relationship and that nurturing? And they go, oh, mine is a discovery call. And I'm like, that's still just one-to-one. Like, you don't know what stage they're in the journey. If you're just doing a one-to-one discovery call, but they haven't been feeding through and messaging you on DMs and building that relationship with you first, you don't know if they're ready.
Yeah, definitely. And lead magnets they're so important. I mean, I've always struggled with knowing whether I should have my discovery call link publicly available. Right now it's off.
Yeah, I noticed that. I did notice it was off. Like, I found it like from a weird way of looking for it. And
you've got to be quite clever to find it.
Yeah,
which is fine, because if you've done that much, maybe you do deserve a call. But yeah, I think it is in a lead magnet. It's in all my lead magnets. You can go to that link and book. Which again may be right, may be wrong. I've had people saying you should protect it. I've had people saying it should be available everywhere. And you know what? If I didn't have a full-time job and I didn't have a family, I'd be taking a lot more calls that were a bit more speculative. But yeah, even the questions on the form are asked in a very, very specific way that will allow me to look at the responses and go, right, this is a call worth taking. But even then, those calls don't come through. My closing ratio this month is a lot lower than I'd like it to be, which is a shame, but it's the way it goes, because I have tightened up the reins and removed that link. So you only get it in the DM if you make a good impression on me. Again, sounds a bit hard, sounds a bit arrogant. You got to make a good impression on me, but
no, I think like, I know you and I are both married, so dating is the only people we dated are spouses. But I always think it's a lot like a relationship building and dating. Like, you when you're going on a date with somebody, and often you go, oh, I hope they like me, but it's actually like, will I like them? Like, it's both sides. Like, when someone, like, I quite often, I've got people in the last year who've wanted to work with me where I've been like, I'm not even booking a call with you, because I know that they're not going to be the right fit for us and our culture. And I don't think it won't serve us. It's not going to be a good relationship. It will turn into a toxic relationship because it's just the different value systems of who we are. They're not wrong, it's just wrong for us. I think that's good. And I was going to ask you about that conversion rate, because I do think that one of the things I had to learn as someone who, like you, had done cold calling, is with cold calling, I think it's about a 1 in 10 hit, right? Is normally a good sign with cold calling that you're getting things right.
I don't know. My calls at the moment that I would make in my day job are nowhere near as much as I used to make. And for a marketing agency, a one call close is absolutely impossible.
I just mean to get to the next stage. It'd be like, can I?
Oh, right. Yeah. It depends if you're including.
Maybe. So if we went to the next stage, like, can I have a time to meet with you or something like that? That would be a 3 out of 10, maybe.
I reckon I'd say 70 to 80% for me, but I'm extremely targeted.
You're extremely targeted, yeah.
Extremely. And I know exactly the right names to drop and work to talk about, results to showcase. and industry contacts as well, because I'm so focused on food, beverage, and hospitality at the moment.
Drop those in, which increases that trust. So
usually I get a meeting every time, near enough.
When I look at that old sales funnel, you can often have 100 prospects and you'd only get like 10 sales out of that, or a good person will get around like approximately, depending on the industry, would be that. But and so that's that kind of sales call process, but you still have to have meetings with them and all those different things.
Oh yeah.
One of the things with the marketing that I found, because often salespeople will use that and go, well, you only get 1 out of 10 sales from your calls. And I'm like, not if you've done the marketing. If you do the marketing, it can sit at 80% conversion to sale on that meeting. And that's that difference, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. If you've not got that in place, well, one, you don't, the targeted list that you may be cold calling, for example, probably won't be up to scratch anyway. If I know people, it's chicken and egg for a lot of people, but it really isn't. I don't think you need to have the content out there in this environment that speaks directly to the wider content, like we mentioned, but also the content that speaks directly to your ideal customer, that they can relate to. That the minute you did make a cold call, or the minute you are able to showcase the fact that you have an offer, they are ready and they are interested. So the marketing has got to come first. And we spoke about this just before we hit the record button, right? Yeah. The marketing has to come first. And what I take my clients through is another 3 C's, funnily enough. Clarity on your offer, clarity, content, closing, or clients, whichever you call it. I call it closing. So if you've got the closing skills and you've got the content, let's say, but you haven't got the clarity on your offer or your audience, where's it going to go? You've got the clarity and you've got the content, but you can't close. That's cool. You look good, but you can't actually get anyone over the line. And if you've got the content and I can't remember which ones I've done now, but you get the idea.
Yeah, and I think that was pretty right. It's interesting you say that, because I went through last year on Instagram, I went through a huge identity crisis, because I own Identify, and identity and Identify are very similar, but Identify, and my job is to sell for my team. We've got more than me as a strategist. We've got my husband does Zoho and other stuff and Active Campaign. We've got Facebook ads. People, we're like you, small, but it's a really small team because we're focused on strategy and training. So we're not doing, and so we have this team. And so for me, I was like, I don't know how to make this fit for who I am. So I ended up splitting, and I've created another Instagram account, which I'm just, at some point will have energy to properly do, but it's ticking away. That currently is sitting at that little Instagram account is around my thing in marketing, which is personal brand, which I can't do on my Identify account because I'm feeding a whole bunch of people that we don't just do that stuff. So I'm doing this whole thing. I've already had 2 clients from my lousy little 130 little followers. I've already had 2 clients come from it, because clarity, content, closing are all 3 things that are working on that account.
Nice.
And so it's given me trust to go like onto LinkedIn. I've now changed my headline to focus on that too, and go, actually, I'll break away from my Identify thing and do that. And even since doing that, by just announcing that headline, I've had 4 or 5 leads just drop into my DMs going, well, if that's what you're focusing on, can I talk to you about this? And I was good at
that clarity.
Yeah, I was good at content, and I'm really good at closing. But that clarity is that thing. And I do think that one of the advantages lots of people have on Instagram is, like we talked about how you don't like your, you've named yourself Sales Guy. Is it Sales Guy Chris on Instagram? Because people are going to see it. We're going to push them to it. And you're talking about that, and it's focused. Hello. We've just got a little visitor, which is great because I like little visitors. Hello. Do you want to say hello into the microphone?
Hi.
It's nice to see you.
Ivy.
That's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Oh. Daddy, I'm just on a very important call. You need to tell me one thing. You have to say it into the microphone, though. It has to be funny.
So we were watching this film.
Yes.
And this boy with superpowers.
Yes.
His dad drowned, and the lightning shows you the picture who killed him. So it actually wasn't the storm.
Right.
That's fascinating.
was actually drowned.
We're not. We only promote this. This isn't like a really violent horror. Just for anyone watching this back.
I trust you.
Yeah. I'm not sure everyone else will that's watching. It's. Thanks, Ivy. Right. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you, Ivy.
Little input there.
I'm going to tell your dad a book to read because I think he's going to love it. I'll recommend it to you now. It's called Storyworthy by Matthew Dix, about how to tell stories. I reckon if you teach Ivy some of those, she's going to be telling those stories on the stage because that was amazing. So what was it from? It sounded like it was like the Rick Jordan or thing books, potentially.
No, it's what's it called? It's Raising Dion, I think it's called. She's watching on Netflix at the moment. Raising Dion. Yes, yeah, it's good. Looks really good.
Oh, that sounds good. I have to make it.
It sounds like there might be some murdering in there at some point.
Everything's got murdering in these days. All right, so we're talking about the three. So I think with the clarity, I agree with you that those are the three that people struggle with. And I think people jump to closing and get frustrated that people aren't closing when they haven't done the work on the clarity and the content.
Massively, yeah. I get people coming to me because I have the word sales in my handle. What does everyone want, right? They want the six pack and the big muscles, but they don't go to a gym.
Yeah. It's just a quick fix. And I think, like, I know that I occasionally do on my Identify one, I occasionally will put a promo on there because I actually have good organic track. So I'll just say, hey, this is launched or whatever, but I don't really sell on my feed. And I know this is one of the things that you would also teach is that your feed, I always say the feed is to feed. Actually I had a saying, but I can't remember what it was, but it's basically like, the feed is to grow, is to feed them, and the stories are to sell. Feed is to feed, stories are to sell. And so that sort of thing, and there, like, that's what you would teach as well, I'm assuming, is that you have different places to do those things to build those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you sell without selling in the feed.
Yes.
In my eyes. So, and I know people hate that phrase, but you know what? It's true. You're selling with everything. You're selling with your design, you're selling with your message, you're selling with your process or your opinion, whatever it may be. But there is a way to sell in the feed that just isn't selling. And then stories, I will still push the occasional offer on a slide 10 of a carousel, for example. That's fine. Try and drive a conversion of some kind. Sometimes that conversion is just asking for a like or a comment or a follow, depending on what objective you're trying to hit that day or with that piece of content. But yeah, keep it to the stories. But mainly, I try and keep it to the DMs. You won't see that much. My sales content in stories now usually is, because I'm getting quite a few through at the moment, is client results. And I will screenshot from a client conversation and I will post it in my stories, because some of the messages I'm getting at the moment about the program are absolutely unreal. So yeah, I don't need to say it. I'll let someone else say it.
Yeah. And I think
for me, the best form of marketing.
I think that's one of the benefits that you get when you're marketing as opposed to sales. Like if you are trying to do like a sales call or a sales meeting and you're just bringing out like this presentation with this testimonial on it, it feels a lot more rehearsed than this organic, oh my gosh, look what I just got from somebody in today. And it feels like it's a lot more of an excited energy. You're not putting your sales button on, you're actually doing a sharing of your own personal experience, which is a lot more interactive with, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. And I think that's what grabs people, is the transformation, whether it's your own or whether it's someone else's, where I started versus where I am now type content, but obviously in a bit more depth. So if you can bring your personal stories into your content that actually relate to business and where you're trying to take people yourself, show that you were a beginner once, show how hard you had it, show the challenges you went through, the struggles and barriers that you overcame, then people are going to make it a lot more relatable than you just selling and talking about how good you are. You can show how good you are without mentioning it once.
Oh, you can, absolutely. And I think, like, for you and I, because we both often work with coaches and consultants and creatives, one of the things I often say is you're not your ideal customer, but you might be a future version of your ideal customer. And so showing that journey really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because that, especially if you are a coach or a consultant, you have to have been where your ideal clients are, really.
Absolutely.
Or very, very similar, in a very similar place somehow. But yeah, I love that.
Because we mentioned just before we started recording that both of us have a common friend, which is Harrison, who is IMH Creative. And often the reason I say he's so good, and I recommend people for him for video, is that he wasn't a natural video person. Like, I'm not actually great to teach people about confidence in video, because if I've got a camera on me, I am just like, I'm happy to be here, you know, so like I'm good. But he had to go through all that fear. So that's what makes him such a powerful coach. So when he tells that story, people go, damn, this guy who looks all put together, he was once where I am now, and look what he's doing now, and I want to be that way. That's the power of the story, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I speak to him daily on the phone, multiple times a day at the moment, and I learn something from him every day. And hopefully, he'd say the same about me. We're massively helping each other out. He helped me strip back the diary. Basically, he probably couldn't have done that to his own diary.
No.
Which is, it's very true, isn't it? You know,
it's so true.
A second set of eyes. He was going through it like, why have you got all this in there? Like, why are you being so granular about things? But yeah, back to his journey, 100%. And that shines. It also helps that he's a mega genuine guy, and it shines through in his content, right? Too. But yeah, I think that transformational piece, almost from zero to hero, is probably the best sort of story you can really tell, aside from client stories, which are obviously mega compelling if you get them right.
And I'll put a link to him in the show notes. But one of the things I want to bring up, because it's about you, not him, is one of the things that you have done really well with Harrison actually is the fact that you have done a collab with him, or you've done a sharing of creating reels where you're both playing a character.
Yes, yeah, we love that. I don't know where I think we did a live, but you know what he's like. He's a funny guy, and when you speak to him in the DMs, he brings a good energy, and I really fiend off that, fiend for that energy from people. Where as soon, because I've got it in me, but if I'm not getting it from someone else, my energy doesn't come out.
It, right?
Yeah. So I do feed off it for sure. And I can't remember how it came about. I think we were going to do a series of lives together and invite guests on and call it Workaholics Anonymous, because that was sort of the common ground that we found. You know, we both work far too much, both got kids, you know, both had a full-time job. Obviously he's quit, which is brilliant. So he's left his full-time role now, but we just thought, I just thought, we need to make this funny. So we did 6, I think we've done 7 now, actually, episodes of this Workaholics Anonymous, which is one of us. We change the roles every week, but one of us is working for an organization called Workaholics Anonymous, and the other one is a character ringing up, having some sort of stupid problem, some ridiculous problem. And Workaholics Anonymous give just the worst advice ever, which is always, you need to work harder. Leave your wife. Forget what your wife says. Work harder. So we've put the brakes on it for a minute, just because we're so busy. But our idea is to have about 25, 30 written, and then go and record them all in one go. So when that'll come back, I don't know, because we've got we're working on a few things at the moment. Some of them are behind closed doors and will stay behind closed doors. And they're just personal projects that we both help each other out with. But then there's this Workaholics Anonymous, which we think's got real legs. We think that could take off, but it requires a lot of work. That's the only thing. So when we do it, we want to have it batched and have half a year ready to just let it roll.
Yeah, very good. I think I'm a big fan of batching content. I did 25 TikToks yesterday. They're all sitting in my drafts, and then they'll all go out everywhere else. So
wow, love it. Yeah, me too.
I was exhausted. So let's just talk a little bit. This has been really great, and I'm just looking at our time, because I think you and I could quite easily chat about this, and then Ivy will never get to say goodnight to her dad before she goes to bed.
We're all right for time. We're all right for time for a little bit. I'm fine to go a little bit over. Don't worry. That's cool.
So, but when we're talking about marketing and selling together, what are some things in terms of like those coaches, consultants, creators, those people, like what are some things you say to them in terms of their output? Because I do think that often it's hard to work out, you know, how should you be showing yourself up? Like what content is really important to show to help people build that trust with you, so they're going to take that next step with you? Like what are some things that we'd want to see? For
me, first and foremost, it will be, well, we work on the offer first.
Yeah.
Everyone I work with, we work on the offer. I've told 2 clients who started with me who haven't got mega design skills, I don't want you to post anything, please, until you've got 30 pieces of content ready.
I like that. I really like that. I
I don't know why I've done
advice, but I really like it. I'm gonna steal it because I like it.
Yeah. Do it, steal it, because I think it makes sense. Like, why would you try and be reactive in the day to day when you're trying to run a business?
Yes.
If you had the option, you would hire a designer and hire a content strategist, hire someone to look at your brand. Unfortunately, you can't. Get the grunt work out of the way. Me and Ivy have a rhyme, once the hard work is out of the way, all that's left to do is play. And that's what I try and teach to her. So when we go running, I put us through some hard runs on the weekends, some weekends, with the promise of big rewards. Because I think if you do that groundwork, do that foundational work, get it out of the way, then, and it's something I think I've learned from my dad, who's a really, really hard worker. So yeah, it's instilling that if you can tick this box, and create content now, you then have a couple of weeks where you don't have to worry about it at all, because especially if you're looking at Instagram, it's the most grueling platform in terms of how active you've got to be, how frequent you've got to be on it and respond and engage and send DMs and put up stories. It's like a whole beast on its own, as everyone is, but I think that's probably the worst in terms of input. So I don't know why I'm saying that, because that's the one I've chosen and it is hard work.
It is hard work. I think it's hard work, but it has high reward, because you do get responses. If your work's working, you get so many beautiful comments and engagement, and so that dopamine kicks in. So I do think that's why a lot of us are attracted to Instagram. And I think too, it's got so many different ways of communicating: single images, memes, carousels, short videos, longer videos, live stories. So whereas a lot of the other places are quite little in what you can do with them.
Bit limited. Yeah. It's definitely the sexiest platform, isn't it? It's
is
by far my favorite platform as a user to scroll through. However, yeah, a lot of work goes into it. So that's sort of my number one thing about showing up, is being ready first. So, but I think headlines, design, mega important. Even if it's not the best design, just making sure that it's consistent, because if you want to be known for something, you need to be associated with a few things that resonate with people consistently, to raise that awareness barrier and brand recall or design recall or whatever you want to call it needs to be as high as possible, because the next time you show up, I've had a couple of people message me, and I definitely think this about other creators, where I don't need to see the name above it or the logos or anything on the side. I know it's their design, even if it's through the design or just simply the messaging itself or the choice of imagery or the position of certain things. So that for me is quite a big piece.
It's huge.
I think that's the one. Yeah,
I listened to your podcast, a couple of your podcasts, which are lives. Which thank you for that little hack, because I've now used it with Sarah, who I do regular lives with. But a couple of them that you've done. I knew those people. I follow them, and while you're talking to them, and this is just a proof of that branding, I can visually see their posts and what their posts look like, because their post colors and images are so closely linked to their brand. I've got this visual idea of who they are.
Wow.
Which just goes to show, right? And I'm thinking that is it, right? Like I can see yours, I can see Harrison's, Dan Thomas, I can definitely see his. There are people, Stephen Mallard, there's people that I follow that I really like and admire. I go, I know that post is that person's post. Leah from Leah does LinkedIn, all of those, and so it just shows that the branding is very important. And I do always say too, make sure you've got, if you're not using Photoshop, you make sure you've got Canva Pro, create templates, get your brand colors, get them sorted so you've got them static, so you know that that's what you're going to be like.
Canva bare minimum. I think that is. I made a couple of work carousels on there the other day. It's so easy to use. Easy.
It is, and it's got so many new things. I will just tell you, I don't know if you know this. Do you know you can now upload PDFs in them, and then it makes an editable PDF and you can change it?
I didn't know that. No, because I've been messing around in Acrobat, and that is a pain. Yeah,
so you can. I'm about to do a whole bunch of like videos around cool things that Canva can do now, and that was one of the ones I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I'll check that out next time I've got a work issue with a PDF, which is a frequent frustration in my life.
Work on the offer first. I 100% agree, because quite often people don't know it, or their offer isn't profitable or sellable or packaged in a way that people are going to want to buy it. So doing that, get your 30 pieces of content ready. And then what would be another thing that you'd say would be like the next step from that?
Follow the formula in terms of the funnel that we talked about. So try and map out, especially at the start, if you're, building a new brand, building a new page, and this isn't Instagram specific by any means, but make sure that you're focusing heavily on the G and the R rather than just trying to obtain clients all the time. Yes, you need to let people know you have an offer, definitely, because otherwise no one will buy. But you want to build that page, I know people say, follower numbers don't matter. Yes, they do, because they are the social proof. Doesn't mean everyone has to be a client or an ideal client persona fitting follower. Just try and get that number up a bit, because when someone lands on your page who is an ideal client and they see that you've got 7 followers, it doesn't instill much confidence. I know a lot of people will say, oh, you don't need 10,000 no, of course you don't need 10,000. You actually only need one. Of course, that's obvious. You only need one person to buy from you to have a client, or maybe have a massively successful business. But it helps. It increases the size of your network when you need things as well.
That's true. That's very true.
It's not just about that. And for market research, analysis, people's preferences, you want to collect some data or people's opinions, whatever it is, it means you can collect more data as well. If you put out a poll and people answer it honestly, you've got some valuable data there. So it's things like that too. So not just trying to go after your ideal clients all the time. Like, and they will find you if you do the groundwork.
Because I think that one of the things, if we applied like what you're saying, the grow method to sales, to me, what happens if we try and use the obtain, like using your model, talk about obtain all the time, do salesy posts, that would kind of be like me walking into a sales meeting, and before we shake hands and say hello and build rapport, which to me is that retain, that space, we're jumping straight to, hey, I'm going to tell you about my offer so that you can buy it. And I know I've been in sales meetings where I have skipped over that rapport time, that retain, and the tone and the feel of the room changes, and you have to step back and go right back to the gain and that soft bit, rapport, to earn the right to obtain.
Lovely. Yeah. Brilliantly summarized. Couldn't agree more. I've done it. I've done it since I've been on Instagram. Sales pros will do this. They'll rush to get to the O when you don't need to do that. The only time I ever really try and do that is to get someone off the phone.
Me too. Sometimes I'm like, hey, let's just wrap it up here now.
So
in terms of that too, I think, like, for me, when I look at the obtain thing too, this is where salespeople in particular, or business owners who are desperate and really need to grow, they stress because they don't understand how gain and retain can lead to obtain. Because
that comes down to that hard work though, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It does take time. And I think that's the thing that, I have had clients who are so stuck in a cold calling cycle, for example, or where they're just doing that thing, that they've put all their energy into that, and the risk for them to take some of that energy and put it into a long-term sequence where they're growing and retaining to get to that obtain is terrifying. And they can't see the other side of it, which is, but in 6 months, you won't need to be doing half of that cold calling anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
It's that long, what you say was the do the hard work before you play thing, right? Like that's that whole process there.
Get the hard work out of the way. Yeah. Then it becomes more fun, i.e. do the content, put in the long hours, send more DMs, respond to more DMs, post more stories. It's amazing how much it is common sense, but people aren't willing to adhere to it. I was exactly the same. But now, because I've done that and I've done massively late nights, I'm still at the moment completely shattered. I'm stripping that calendar back, and I'm being a lot more intentional with my time, my actions. I've got content stockpiled for days, weeks. I don't have to make another piece of content for. And has it been easy? No.
Yeah.
Is it going to be worth it? Yes.
Because I do know, like, your three groups here, coaches, consultants, and creatives, are all people who have often opted to choose that type of business because of lifestyle. And to get that lifestyle, there has to sometimes be a surge of uncomfortable time first to lay that foundation. And that's what we're saying, isn't it? You do have to do that to get to the point where those start. Because I know for me, like, I have only got 1,500 followers on Instagram, but I've got a lot more on LinkedIn. I've got like a list and those things. Sales are easy for me. Like, I launched something and we got double what we expect to get from it. And I only use my list and my Instagram stories. And my group. That's all I used. You know, it felt easy, but I started 4 years ago building that.
Yeah. How many sales did you get at the start?
The first time I did like my public event thing, I think I had, like, it was free. It was a free day's training, had 8 people to it. The last one I did before COVID happened, we had to upgrade the room twice to fill people in. And even then they were jammed packed. And I had people running up to buy from me halfway through the day. And I didn't even do my offer yet. But that's the growth, you know? And so you have to start with the little bit first.
Yeah. That's the proof's in the pudding right there. The thing is, I think humans are sort of naturally designed to seek out comfort.
We are.
So if you can find an easy route, cut a corner, not do the work, skip the workout, go on your phone and just scroll, you're going to do it. Why? Because it's easy. Because it's easy. It doesn't require any brain power or sweat or tears or mud under the fingernails, whatever it is. And I think you don't grow unless you do that.
Yeah. You have to go through it. And what I like, though, is you've put things in the right order. You have to have a tight offer. You need to know exactly what you're offering. Then take some time to really think about how you're going to present that offer, create those 30 pieces of content, and really focus on the gain and retain in that content, is what we're saying, isn't it? With a little bit of a
100%.
feed through a bit of obtain, but gain and retain. And then launch with that and focus on building those relationships, trusting the process, and helping push those people eventually to come and talk, build relationships, send messages of welcome to your followers, love every single follower that comes to you when you start to build that, and you'll see growth from that.
Definitely. I messaged every single one.
Did you?
Every single one.
So I think I should have done that. I love that. I really love that. And I think I'm going to start doing it. I did do that with our Map It group. I do like a little video message. And I do think building that community is really important. So yeah, I think that's great advice. Now, if people have listened to this and gone, damn, I need Chris in my life. I have heard he's got limited time. So I need to work out a way to find a way to get this information that he's doing so I can make my sales better with my marketing. How do they get hold of you?
The best place at the moment is Instagram. Right. And that's at Sales Guy Chris, or one word, obviously. Look at that, Harrison's text.
Ah,
twice now. There we go.
I just said, I'm sorry, I was busy with someone who likes pineapple on pizza.
Oh yeah, I'll be happy to tell him that. Before we get off, you'll have to send him a video. I'll do a voice recording of you, but you can say it and it'll come from my phone. I think that'll be hilarious.
We'll totally do that.
Yeah, definitely. So I've forgotten the question now because I've started thinking about winding Harrison up, which is one of my hobbies.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Where do people get in touch with you?
Sales Guy Chris on Instagram. There's no point going to salesguychris.com, but I'll plug it anyway in case you want a freebie, because that will just take you to a freebie page and there are no contact details on there. But yes, if you are looking to expand your business, online business and client base through content, which is what I specialize in, and definitely worth a conversation. I help people of all levels, established businesses, also beginners, through my program, which is called Content to Clients, and we focus on the exact strategies that we've talked about in this podcast. So yeah, I would love to have a conversation just in the DMs, find out a bit more about where you're trying to get to. If I can help, I would love to take the conversation further.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. I'm going to share at the end, after we finish this, in the little bit that everyone's about to listen to, just to go through that grow phase again and just walk through with you again in a summarized way, the information that Chris shared, because it was super helpful. Thank you so much, Chris, for being part of the Map It Marketing podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a great time. Could have gone for another hour, I reckon.
I know, we totally could have. Have you back later.
So many of the skills that we need as salespeople and marketers are related to people who have more time, more resources, and for many of us as small business owners, that is not possible. That's why I really loved this podcast with Chris James, who talks about having very little time to put into marketing and also lead generation, conversion to sale, and working with clients, and how to manage that process really well. If you're spending a lot of time in backwards and forwards sales calls, perhaps you need to focus on creating better content on the front end of that in your marketing, building that web of content to help people build that trust with you to make the process easier. That's definitely something that we have done at Identify, and as part of my new book, Be a Spider, Build a Web, which is coming out in May, little plug there. I think Chris's help at the end was fantastic around how to improve the conversion from your Instagram feed to your stories and then into your DMs, and talking about what you need to do there. I'm hoping you found this useful. Now, next week, it's going to be me, and I'm going to be talking to you about the sales strategy process, just around how to make sure that you've got different things, what you should be saying in a sales meeting. And this will fit whether you've got a cold sales lead or a warm one, anyone that's coming through and has made an inquiry, how we're going to talk to them to help work out what they need and how then you can provide a statement of work or a proposal afterwards. Looking forward to doing that with you. Like always, please do rate and review if you've loved this podcast. Please share it with your friends. And if you need any more help and support and advice, come along to our Map It Marketing group on Facebook. Would love to see you there. See you next week. If you love what you heard today, be sure to hit subscribe. And if you loved this episode in particular, I'd love it if you shared it on social media. Remember to tag me in so I can say thank you. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon.